all believe in what we're trying to do, but we all have those moments where you sit back and think, what the fuck am I doing? And is anyone actually paying attention?
When you think about what's the point of what you're doing, for me, I love that we just make someone's day a bit better because people need that.
This was my first time, I think, showing anyone the product. And the first thing they do is taste tests. And they tried it and they all liked it. I remember the next day they sent the email with all the due diligence and it was insane.
Momentum comes motivation. And when a business doesn't have momentum, it's really hard. Momentum is the thing that is kind of the lifeblood for the founder and the team.
Nothing succeeds like success. When you have like a taste of success in something, it does inspire you.
Let's dive straight in. So you guys are friends. You grew up in Hong Kong. Doug, you're married with young kids. Your wife, Jessica's in the audience. And you guys both work and have full-time jobs. One of you has this business idea. I think that's fairly common. It's also pretty normal that you guys would discuss it. You discuss it with Jessica. But you guys did it. And that's not so common. So what is the origin story of Neon Tiger?
Well, do you want to take the lead on this one?
Sure.
The first time, Emma, you go ahead.
Yeah, so I think, well, Jess and I, we both really like discovering new products. And for a while, we kind of toyed with the idea of launching something, specifically a drink. So every time we saw something new on the shelves, we'd be kind of interested. We thought it'd be really cool to have our own one day. And this was around, I think, 2022. It was the boom of like the hard seltzers. White Claw was just booming in the States. And we thought, okay, we got to try this product. And so we got our hands on some. So it's kind of interesting because Neon Tiger is non-alcoholic, but the origins are actually in alcohol.
Okay.
So we eventually got our hands on some and we tried it. For those that aren't unfamiliar, hard seltzers are like alcohol with sparkling water, bit of fruit. And we were just pretty disappointed with the overall taste of these products. It's like they tasted really artificial. The fruit was artificial. The sweetness was really artificial. And we thought we could do better. So we spoke to Pete, and he's very fond of his booze. And we said, well...
I would say so, yes.
And we just said, look, we have this kind of idea that hard seltzers, they're booming, but they're not that great. And maybe we could do something. And it culminated in this night at our house where we had about 50 different types
we
of
bought
cocktails.
every type that we could. I was at Donkey, City Super.
So this was in Hong Kong, so you
Yeah, at
went
their
all
place.
around.
We went all around and bought about 50 different
Okay.
types of ready-to-drink seltzers and also cocktails.
Yeah.
And things got very boozy, but I think the conclusion at the end was that they were all pretty average.
Yeah, I mean, not just that, but we were going wowzers because we were literally buzzing from all the artificial... I left Doug's house. I was with it was Jess, Doug, I, my partner Lewis, and we were just there and we were like walking. I was like, what just happened? Like, I felt like I was Mr. Plastic Artificial after that. Because I was studying wine then as well.
Okay.
So,
so you were really studying, not drinking.
but actually, because I do a lot of DJing,
Yep.
And all my events were canceled because of COVID. So I started studying wine, and then this idea came up. So I thought, oh, seltzer, it's a really hard seltzer is a cool thing. But we tried them all, and we were, oh man, I was so buzzed in a bad way. I went home, I couldn't sleep. I was like, oh, it was awful. Yeah. So we thought we could do better, and that's how it started, really.
Yeah. So I think after that, we decided to immerse ourselves in the industry to get to know it. The idea at the time was, could we make a seltzer using sake? It's an Asian-inspired seltzer. And throughout the whole time, as long as I've known Jess's mom, she's made these amazing homemade fruit sodas using like fresh fruit, a bit of simple syrup. They're really, really good. Add a bit of sparkling water. And we'd spike them into cocktails. So we thought we could take this, a bit of sake, and try to can it. So we went out, really immersed ourselves in the industry. We even did a sake course, all three of us, to learn about
So this was really going to be an alcoholic venture.
Yep.
In the very beginning, that was the idea, was could we make something,
Okay.
a drink? And alcohol was where it first came. But after a short while, it became obvious that we couldn't source sake in bulk. It just was really, really difficult to get it in bulk. So we came together, and interestingly, we all kind of reached the same conclusion that we didn't need the alcohol. We had done the research, and we saw similar parallels in the soda space, where you get traditional sodas, really artificial sugary, and then the healthier ones are like the zero sugar, but they use artificial sweeteners, flavor essences. And there was no one doing something with like real fruit, kind of in the middle where you get good fruit, good full flavor without the excess sweet sugars and calories and no fake sweeteners. So we kind of, it was a bit serendipitous. We kind of reached the same conclusion that we've got this great fruit soda. Let's just eliminate the alcohol and pursue.
And I think
sodas.
that was actually, if we had done alcohol, we've seen similar products that are canned alcohol, like, and they struggle. It's harder, I think. You can't get into a lot of spaces. There's more sort of implications in terms of, you know, importing and licensing and whatnot. So, and you can mix these as well. So
yeah, you can mix these really well.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I guess if you are creating an alcoholic soda mixed sort of drink, salsa, you're always going to be compared to a cocktail in a bar. You're always going to be compared to what, you know, a bartender could make for you. And it's like, you know, this doesn't taste like a vodka tonic, or it doesn't taste like a margarita, you know? Whereas here you don't get that same level of comparison.
Definitely not. So I think that was, in a way, was a good move that somehow we couldn't find the right supply, really, of sake was a problem. And we found that you'd have to probably have a Japanese speaker or even Japanese person, really, to get a good sake supply. Somehow, every point then, everywhere we turned, it was like doors closing. Nothing was happening at that time. So yeah, it kind of worked out really well in that sense, you know.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think looking back, it's a blessing because, as Pete said, we have a much broader distribution channel by not being alcoholic. And I think also from a more personal note, I think it was more rewarding for us to be able to share this with our kids. This drink, we have young kids, and we were, you know, not satisfied with options in the market. So for them, it's like they love it. And also, I didn't want to really be in the booze space, surrounding myself with it all the time. So I think it really worked out.
Fantastic. So how do you guys go from, I guess, a pitcher of homemade all natural fruit juice that Jess's mum has made to a mass produced, professionally canned and branded product on a supermarket shelf?
Well, I honestly, the whole thing was start from zero and learn every day. It's kind of crazy, right? A lot of things that we just sort of learned as we went along. Yeah. And I think our impressions of how it would go have been just totally different. I would say it was getting the supplier and the right people to work with and the right design and everything. I mean, it was a really epic journey in some ways. Yeah. And at the beginning, I think that there was a moment where it wasn't coming together, and I think we were pretty much this close to shelving it, right?
Yeah, it almost...
It was sad. It was crazy. But...
It almost ended before it even started, because in beverages, you typically will find a cannery that will do the actual production of canning, but then you have to give them the ingredients. And so we had done a formulation with a global ingredient supplier in Australia, completed the whole formulation, and our cannery was in Vietnam. So we said, okay, we're very happy with this. Let's ship the ingredients to Vietnam. And at that stage, they told us that it wasn't possible because they were using real fruit juice. They're like, you cannot ship this. You've got to can it in Australia, which was cost prohibitive. So they introduced us to their China team and said, the China team can do it for you. So we did a whole new formulation because slightly different ingredients. We were ready to place the order again. And the China team said, well, the MOQ is about 10 times. The minimum order quantity out of China was 10 times more than Australia. And this would have been like 600,000 cans per flavor. So
per flavor?
Oh yeah, it was something really, really high. And so
you're looking at, that's a lot of cans.
I was terrified.
You're talking like...
It was a moment where we were like
1.8 million cans.
1.8 million cans, roughly. Yeah. And our reaction was, why didn't you tell us this? In the beginning. So eventually we called the cannery in Vietnam, and he was really supportive. And we said, look, the project's over. And he said, well, what are you guys trying to do? And we explained it to him, and he just said, I can do this for you. He's like, I've got access to amazing fruit juice from local farms. We do this anyway. Like they do a lot of canned juices. So we decided, okay, let's fly there right away. Flew there.
Yeah, we went down, Doug and I, for a few days.
Yeah, went to the cannery, sat in the factory for about a week, sampling hundreds of different flavors. And that's how we narrowed down the 3 that we have here with us. we were adjusting the flavor, the amount of sugar, everything. We did it in one short go, and yeah, we decided without showing anyone. We said, let's place an order and bring this a container load, which is about 60,000 cans, and we said, let's try it.
And we weren't, when it first arrived in Hong Kong, I mean, the Vietnam trip was surreal in a way because working with the local people there, I mean, I think it seemed like a thing where we had coffee with them the first day for about 3 hours. And we just sat there and we just drank coffee, didn't really say much.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, they're like, okay, you're not sus, you're sound.
Okay.
And we worked with them. And then we were having lunch in TST and the first cans were there. I remember we opened them. We thought, is this really going to taste like what it tastes over there? And then it did. And we were very relieved.
I mean, but 60,000 cans just off your own gut instinct on the spot in Vietnam, that's pretty ballsy. I mean, I know it's not 600,000 cans, but it's still a big step, right?
Yeah, it's a big step, but I think we really trusted our gut instinct in terms of the flavor and what we were trying to do. And yeah, I mean, it was the minimum that you had to commit to anyway. So if we were going to do it, we knew we had to do this. So we didn't do any kind of focus groups or any taste tests with anyone. It was just purely just trusting instinct. And we were pretty confident though that the taste was right.
Yeah, and I think the market positioning was great as well. Not just in terms of the sweetness level and the real ingredients, but also in terms of the non-alcoholic positioning. I'd known from studying wine when I graduated from the diploma, they were like, "Oh my God, you have a non-alcoholic business, like sweet." Everyone was like, I was like, "What? You guys are all wine guys," and they were like, "Oh man, I wish I was a non-alc." I was like, "What?"
Yeah, it's competitive.
Yeah,
the alcoholic business is really competitive. Believe me, I know that. Guys, how long did that process take? So you were working with someone in Australia. You were doing your ingredients there. You were hoping to do the canning there. You couldn't do that. They put you on to China. That doesn't happen for MOQ reasons. And then you find yourself in Vietnam. How long does that all last?
Was it 18 months?
That whole process was about, about 18 months. So at the time, very frustrating because you're itching to get something going. But I think the positive that came out of it was that we were able to launch after COVID.
Okay.
Otherwise, we would have been launching right in COVID, which would have restricted our sales.
Isn't it amazing how you
channels.
look back at those moments and at the time they're like, they're so painful.
Yes.
And you think they're going to kill the business. And then you look back in hindsight and you're like, thank God that happened. You know?
Definitely.
I mean, it was surreal. We had the Australian partner and he kind of pulled out really last minute.
Yeah.
And I remember you texted me, I was like in London at a rave. And then I got this message from Doug and I was like, oh my God, he's pulled out. I was like, oh, what's going on? It was so surreal.
He's like, I'll check it in the morning when I wake up. I'm not sure that I'm reading this right.
It's actually a very good rave. Yeah. Anyway.
So talk to me about the branding then. The name, the branding, these awesome colors that you have. Because I mean, we'll get to getting the product on the shelf and all that, but I mean, this on a shelf jumps out at you. What was the intentionality behind that and that process? What did it look like?
Well, I think maybe I'll just go first.
Yep.
The name, actually, Doug came up with the name. So you should probably talk about it. But it's from a band that we really like called The Killers.
Okay.
Which I now understand is considered to be dad rock.
Okay.
Which makes sense because he's a dad. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't you go on?
Yeah, I mean, the Neon Tiger, it is the name of a song by The Killers, but I think the neon aspect represents Hong Kong. Like it's iconic for the neon lights that we see, and that's like the vibrancy, the 24/7 energy of Hong Kong. And the tiger represents the Asian spirit and the fierce, like fighting spirit of Asia, which is reflected in our Asian flavors. Yeah. So, yeah, Neon Tiger, the name came, I think I was listening to that song when it came to me walking home one day on the bus. And I thought, actually, Neon Tiger is a really suitable name. Then for the design, none of us are designers, but we have a very good friend who's an amazing designer. And we went to him for the logo and the can design. And he did the logo, which you have on the can now, but he really struggled with the rest of the can design.
I think I think we chopped and changed a lot as well, to be fair to him. But the logo, he did the logo, and then Doug was like, I think we need like a Nike swoosh. So we put the stripe in, and then to this day, he's like,
That's the neon
oh God,
now.
you put a stripe through my logo, my beautiful logo. I was like, dude, it's already been like 3 years. Can you chill?
Yeah, he
And
hasn't
every time I have
forgiven
lunch
us.
with him,
It's iconic though now.
yeah.
What a great story about the brand name. I had no idea that
Yeah.
the neon represented Hong Kong and the tiger represented the Asian spirit. That's just phenomenal.
Because in
I love
fact,
that.
I think our relationship, how we know each other kind of goes back. We played rugby together in school, but
Okay.
also my classmate and Doug were in a band together. So we'd always like listen to rock together and go to rock shows. And I think that made a lot of sense as well, which is cool.
And this is all a side business. So while all this is going on and you're trying to get this thing up and running and this idea that you have, what do you guys do away from Neon Tiger?
So I'm in packaging business,
Okay.
very specialized packaging. We do anti-mold products and desiccants, so moisture absorbents. So it's completely different. But prior to this, in my like mid-20s, I'd run a few tech startups.
Okay.
So I had some
So you had some
experience,
experience.
of running startups. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I've had a number of different hats. I was in publishing, and I was an advertising copywriter. Did corporate communications, freelance journalist and writer, and also DJing.
Okay.
So I run an events company and brand called Cantomania, which focuses on Hong Kong music and Cantopop, also like Japanese music as well. So yeah, it's another hat really.
Yeah.
And I found that, I did a Master of Journalism in 2014 in a way, and that I've noticed, in the last few years that kind of side, that business has definitely dipped a lot, whether it's to do with marketing budgets, AI, social media, decline of journalism in general. So in a way, Neon Tiger for me came at a really good time because I think I'm still working in that field, but I feel like not really sunsetting, but I think because Neon Tiger has been quite successful, I can see this growing and developing. So it's great to have, more time to dedicate to. Yeah.
So the long-term goal is to transition over to this.
I think we're pretty full pelt into it right now, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay.
It's every day. Every morning we're messaging, doing the weekends. The weekends have been a bit surreal sometimes. I've been DJing, get a couple hours sleep, and then show up at like mini rugby with
With
cans.
a whole bunch of cans for the kids and the
And
parents.
then the kids are like running around, like got the sunglasses on. I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't know. I was like telling Doug, how do you guys and Jess, like, how do you guys have kids? Because I just can't. I'm sorry. I mean, they're lovely kids, to be fair, but there's a lot of noise,
Well, the last thing you want to give them is more sugar. So this is a good option.
The kids do like our drink, and they swarm around the booth always. And sometimes we have to stop them from like lifting boxes and things. Yeah.
But I think part of that, the drink is amazing. The product is really good, but it's also the appeal of the packaging. I think the colors, the name, everything really feeds into that with everyone, adults, kids. Let's come back to the corporate and the sort of the jobs that keep the lights on, so to speak. So you guys have figured out the sourcing. You have your brand. You place your first order. You didn't do any consumer testing. It was
None.
just the two of you.
Just
so you
gut instinct.
No.
Okay.
Even Jess
No,
can try the
amazing.
product.
So you never tried it. Wow. Okay. Oh, thank God it worked, eh?
Well, yeah.
Jess would not have been happy.
Well, or we'd have a lot of soda to drink ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, there's two schools of thoughts. You can do all this sort of A/B testing or, consumer testing, or you can just be like, this is like something I like. So
Yep.
I'm going to use my taste or what I think is good. And maybe you might be completely wrong, to be fair, but I don't feel that we've been wrong, actually. I think with the product, one thing is we had to kind of figure out ourselves as well how to position it, and that took a bit of time. I think one thing with the colors, they're really bright, but people do sometimes think it's a energy drink or even alcoholic. So I think that's been some explaining to do. But now we've sort of got the positioning like pat down really good.
It was similar with the branding. It was an Australian guy did the packaging design, and we just saw them, and the first time the colors were so amazing, and it was very clean design that we just liked it. So we again just took our own instinct and didn't do any groups, didn't show it to anyone. Just said we like it, so we'll go with it.
I just think that when we first tried it that day in Simsat Show when we were having lunch, I was like, if it doesn't taste like what it tasted like and it tastes really bad, I'm like, how are we going to get rid of 60,000 cans?
Yeah.
Like, go outside. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go.
But it's amazing when you put your mind to something and you start to work on it. Sometimes the universe shows you the way. You know, people come up with things like you said. You met the guys in Vietnam and they said we can do this. What do you guys need?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's amazing how that stuff sometimes happens.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys have a customer in mind at all when you placed that first order, or was it just like we're going to get these cans and we're going to hustle and find people to buy them?
Well, I think in the beginning, it was about just getting that first account.
Yeah.
You know, we wanted to, there were two things we needed to test is we needed to see would consumers like the product? And secondly, how would retail or any customer respond at the time? So at the very beginning, we did a very small fair and we had people try the product for the first time and it was positive, the response. So we knew, okay, people are okay with what we made. And then when it came to
that
selling,
feels good, right?
it feels really good when they first try it, and we both can speak Cantonese, so we could hear them speaking in Cantonese, not knowing that we could understand.
Yeah.
And they were giving real positive feedback to each other. So we knew, okay, this is legit.
Yeah, they weren't there like, oh my God, this is awful.
Yeah.
Which often
that
happens.
would have been a
That'd
bit
be quite
difficult
funny.
to deal with.
Well,
You said
I mean,
that now.
what I realize is everyone, you know, we do a lot of things. I think one of the most valuable thing that we do for ourselves and our business is, or like stand in city. Jess will organize City Super. So we like stand there and literally try and convince, you know, a lot of shoppers, or a lot of them are quite discerning, like, you know, homemakers, to buy the drink. And they're pretty brutally honest sometimes. I don't like that. I like that. Okay. And they'll be like, okay, I'll get 12. Especially City Super. Yeah. Sometimes you get a few interesting characters just hover around you for like an hour. I'm just like, can you please go? But I don't say that. I'm just sort of like, oh man, this guy's like hanging around. It's crazy. But so I think we see the front line in a way when we do these, especially supermarkets, you know?
Yeah.
It's very valuable. It's quite brutal sometimes. You got used to rejection.
Yeah.
And there is a sales tactic where you talk to them for a while and they feel a bit sorry for you and then they buy. It's great. It really works. I'm telling you, it really, really works. I'm like, I can see the face where they feel sorry for me and they bought like 6 cans. Sweet. We're in there.
The foreign face speaking Cantonese also helps, right?
Yes,
Especially in the local market.
Definitely,
because it's unexpected for a lot of people. And I think that's,
Yeah.
it's a true Hong Kong story, which is great. We love those stories.
Just going back to our first sale, I think it was to Sodexo. I think.
Was it?
Wasn't it? Well, we had one of the very early ones that we had was Sodexo, which is a huge caterer. They cater to all the corporates, schools.
Yep. I know the one you mean.
Really massive. And we got a meeting. A lot of our meetings we got through connections.
Yeah.
So Jess at the school where our kids go to, Sodexo is the caterer, and she approached a guy there and said, I'm not really happy with the drinks you have here, and I've got something better. So can we meet? And he accepted a meeting. So we went into this meeting, and this was my first time, I think, showing anyone the product. And the first thing they do is taste tests, and they tried it, and they all liked it. And then we actually got this account with Sodexo, which is huge considering we had no track record. I remember the next day, they sent the email with all the due diligence, and it was insane.
We were like, how do we get this? How do we get that?
Yeah.
Remember, like, and there were some things like, for example, the City Super account came because Jess's mom, who is, you know, she's definitely able to express her opinion, and she managed to just kind of willfully get us a meeting because she's like a VIP shopper. That was really cool. I was like, cool, Jess's mom really like Rambo'd it in there, you know?
Oh, yeah. You have to use your connections here.
This is the thing about being in business, though, and entrepreneurship, right? You have to leverage every possible connection, relationship. You know, someone opens the door a little bit, you need to push that thing open.
Yes.
And just lean in because that's the only way you get any traction. And you got to get used to people saying, no, I don't like it.
Yeah,
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, I'm so used to being rejected now. I think it's, but it's fine. I mean,
not everyone likes the same
everyone's
thing.
entitled to
We're all
opinion,
different. Can I ask you guys a question? One of the biggest barriers people have to starting a business is this idea that you need to fundraise, you need to have capital behind you. And from what I understand from you guys, you've really bootstrapped this. Can you speak a little bit about what it costs you to get into this business and how you sort of run it today? Because I think from previous discussions we've had, my understanding is that what keeps the lights on at home right now is not Neon Tiger.
Yeah, I mean, I think we decided to make it very bootstrapping. We have taken zero income from this company, except for one round of expenses, because there were quite a few. And I think, can we say about the amount of capital? I mean, it's surprising. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we funded it. We self-funded the whole product for less than $100,000 US dollars.
Yeah.
Closer to 75,000,
which is phenomenal for a consumer packaged goods.
Yeah.
To launch a brand, to get shelf space, to get awareness, build traction for under 100,000 US dollars.
Yeah.
Up front.
Yeah.
It shows you what's possible. I think there's a lot of inspiration in there.
Yeah, it does. I think when you look at a beverage, you think you need probably $1 million just to launch something. But actually, once you research the industry, you start realizing actually there's different ways of doing this that aren't so capital intensive. And you can, again, it comes back to kind of communicating with people. Like with our factory, because we went there, he said very few customers have ever been here. And because of that relationship, he said he did us many favors, including the MOQs, brought everything down. So I think that just the whole being out there and building these relationships, people tend to, if they like you, they tend to try to help you. Yeah. And that we've got a lot of that.
And actually, yeah, they came to Hong Kong too, our supplier and his wife. And we also had another, just like the lunch, another dinner where we sat there and didn't really say much, but they were quite useful to do that. I think people forget, I think nowadays, seeing something in person is really, really important to me. Old school things, like not being on phone online, like seeing something physically, you understand it. So I think that's really important to the business building. I'd say in terms of bootstrapping, it's very hard in a way because, part of me is like, I've got paid jobs here. I need to prioritize them. But then Neon Tiger, we got to do stuff. So, it's a lot of just, late at night or whenever you got time to do things. And sometimes it could be pretty hectic. And I think in the beginning, personally, it also, I'm not sure I really 100% believe that we can make it. And I think that, after seeing a few successes with accounts, and I started, really believing in it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that sounds, maybe that's a bit too honest in a way, but I do think you have to suddenly believe in what you're doing, You
need that reinforcement though, right? You need that reinforcement as a founder. We all believe in what we're trying to do, but we all have those moments where you sit back and think, what the fuck am I doing? And is anyone actually paying attention? Does anyone care?
Yeah.
And then when you get that reinforcement, it feels good. And it gives you the motivation, the energy to just drive forward. And I think something else you said that's incredibly powerful, and Pete, you kind of elaborated on it.
Yep.
My guess is that face-to-face meeting was everything in terms of getting this thing off the ground.
With the factory?
With the factory.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
I would say so, yeah.
Because in previous conversations with them, we were trying to make ourselves sound really big.
Yep.
Because we're talking to a beverage factory that does
fake it till you make it.
So you fake it till you make it.
Make it.
So we were really like saying, oh yeah, we've got lots of capital, we have big plans, all these things. And then when we finally met him, the guards, everything just dropped, and it just became very genuine.
You're like, hi, can you help?
Exactly.
We should have rolled up we should have done a helicopter landing.
No, I think it's incredibly powerful to go and meet people face to face, and it opens up all kinds of doors and opportunities that you would never see and would never be unearthed if this was being done over email, WhatsApp, or even on a Zoom call. Especially like you said, you sat there for how many hours?
Yeah, we did coffee
Drinking
first.
Vietnamese
Very
coffee.
good coffee. I love my coffee. So, and then we had lunch. And there was that was a very nice lunch as well. They were very hospitable. They brought us everywhere.
No, the Vietnamese are lovely like that. They're
cool.
such a lovely culture.
But I think just one thing on, the entrepreneurial side and the bootstrapping is that I think having a team, it sounds so cheesy, but people forget, like, having people to, support you, or, when you're having the moment when you think, what the hell am I doing?
Yep.
Sometimes, and maybe you all lead each other into the abyss sometimes.
Yep.
But I think in this case we haven't. I'd say it's really important when you have a vision. If you do everything yourself, you're gonna sink big time, I reckon.
Yeah, having a team around you is really important. And that leads really nicely into what I wanted to say next, or ask you guys next. I want to talk about you three as a team. Your story is pretty unique. Doug and Pete, your childhood friends. Friends as partners doesn't always work. So I think that's pretty unique. Doug, you're also married to your co-founder, which also doesn't always work.
Yeah. Still married.
You've got young kids, and that's a powerful and potentially complex dynamic. So how do you navigate being life partners and business partners, and then adding a lifelong friend into the mix?
Yeah, it's very risky.
Highly recommend it.
Well, I mean, it's been working out so far. So yeah, I mean, I think at the beginning we had to really set expectations.
Yeah,
very clear. You have to be very clear about what the expectations are in terms of the commitment. We made it very clear, and we're not asking anyone to leave jobs or anything.
Yeah,
we're going to keep funding this until it's ready to maybe consider that. So I think we set those expectations, and then on the other side, we have very different skill sets, and as a result, we were able to set very distinct roles. And so, like, for example, I manage mainly the sales, business development. Pete is more on the marketing side. Jess is more operations plus marketing. And by having our responsibilities, we kind of avoid too much overlap. And I think that was really important to do that. It doesn't mean that there haven't been any arguments, or it's been all
we've had big arguments, but I think there's sometimes where I felt that, I've been really busy with DJing this year and events and things, and sometimes we have holidays or things happen, and then we're like, oh, we haven't had a team call this week, and then it kind of, you have to keep on constantly sort of assessing, are you contributing enough, And I think one thing about having a company is sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough, or like I'm letting people down. But I think the thing is, we've known each other for so long, particularly Doug and I know Jess for a very long time as well. But with Doug and I mean, we know each other so long. I think the good thing is, like, you can say, like, hey, I don't think you're pulling your weight, or we can be really, what do you think about this,
really
without
honest.
tiptoeing around each other, like call each other out on the bullshit, or like, if it's not committed enough, or I think that's a cool thing. I think you kind of need that in a business,
You got to be open and honest with each other.
You can't be too polite
right?
with each other, otherwise, things won't get done.
But I like the intentionality behind defining the roles and responsibilities, because I think that makes life a lot easier when you can do that. It's not easy, but it's easier.
Yeah.
Because you each have your areas of responsibility to focus on. And to start off that way and to be able to have those tough discussions, I think makes all the difference in the world. Which is really interesting, because it's not easy when you have this friendship dynamic and the husband and wife dynamic going on to do that all the time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think sometimes I get frustrated or impatient with I just want more things to be done faster, more and more. And then when I do get frustrated, Jess will remind me that she has a very important job of raising the kids. And that tends to shut me up.
Yeah.
So
I'm really good. I'm glad I don't hear any of this stuff yet.
So yeah, and then that puts things into perspective as well.
And perspective is such an important thing, right? Because it can be all encompassing when you're trying to grow a business.
Yeah,
It
sometimes
can
you
take
have the
over
blinders
everything.
on, and then
I think it is, and especially in a week like this, what's been going on in Hong Kong with the typo, is like tragedy, and we're here, we're alive, we're doing things. I think it's really important. People in the morning woke up and they, were in a fire, and
Yeah.
so we gotta at least have that perspective of like we're still here, we're still human. And
Yeah,
that
we're
sounds
not-
kind of cheesy,
yeah.
but you need that. Otherwise, you can get really lost. I feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and it's also important to have fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
We try to
exactly.
remind ourselves too. Sometimes you get too.
No, I've seen you guys have them. We've had a lot of fun.
Oh, we have,
together.
yeah,
like
yeah.
wine and
Various
dine.
things,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, first day of wine and dine where I got the DJ gear out and then pissed off all the neighbors. Well, everyone had a good time though.
It was a
Sound
fantastic
system was up to
night.
10. Yeah.
On the balancing the sort of roles that pay to keep the lights on and the Neon Tiger mission and all that you guys put into this, how have you gone about finding balance, and what do the hours that you work look like? I mean, and are you ending up checking like Neon Tiger emails while you're trying to do your packaging business, or in the middle of your DJ set?
That's a risky.
Yeah.
That's very risky for Doug to say.
Do you do it while you're DJ?
No, I don't. I have a rule. I don't check my phone on DJ.
Just at raves.
Yes, it rains. Yeah.
No, you do. Sometimes you do really crazy hours. Maybe I get back at like 3 or 4 and checking the emails.
And you've got a fire to put out, right? Because something's happening and you got to deal with it.
There was quite a funny incident where I'd actually taken Neon Tiger to a party in Kwai Chong, really cool venue called Supercube. And you've been there. Yeah. Anyway, and then the next day we had the school fair. And I was like, oh, God. I woke up in time and I was like, oh, crap. It's like 9:30 now. And missed calls from Doug. Doug was banging on the door. Sorry about that, man. After that, I actually got a physical. I went down to the shop. I bought a real old school alarm clock. So I put it in the corner of the room. So,
But it's hard to balance, right? You got so much going on. And Pete, you said it earlier, and I wanted to lean into this a little bit. You always feel like you should be doing more, right?
yeah,
And
I'd say so.
how do you guys manage that with busy jobs and kids and family and stuff? Do you just have to prioritize? I mean, what does it look like day to day for you guys to do this? Is Neon Tiger sort of after work for you, normally after hours?
Yeah, I mean, I think you end up having to give up things.
Yep.
There's sacrifice there. For me, it's more early morning. All lunch break is now Neon Tiger, and then evenings. Because with a beverage business, your weekends are also really occupied with events. You do a lot of promotion, you do lots of different events. So you end up doing that. But I also think that's why you need the partners to launch the business. If it was just Jess and I, for example, we just wouldn't have the manpower to have done what we've done. So I think, you make these sacrifices, you find time elsewhere, but you also become kind of more efficient because I think time where, if I'm at the office and I'm just maybe browsing a football website for a bit, instead of doing that, I might shoot off a quick email.
Yep.
So you end up filling those gaps of procrastination with productivity, I guess.
Yeah, and the reason I bring it up is that there's going to be people sitting there who have a corporate job, who are thinking about starting something on the side, not sure whether to do it or not do it. What life's going to look like if I start this as well? What advice would you have for someone like that?
I mean, personally, because I've been working for myself for about 10 years, I'd say the first time I worked for myself, I did it because I was working in corporate communications at a major bank, which I heavily disliked, and had great colleagues, but was pretty miserable in that job. And I just quit, and I studied Masters of Journalism and I remember thinking, because I didn't know how to run a business or anything, and basically I was looking a bit broke after the first 6 months, and I had a little panic. So it sounds really cheesy, but don't quit the day job. I think it's a really good advice. And until you fake it till you make it. I think that's a lot of people have business ideas and a lot of them won't work. And you might find when you run the business, you might not like it that much.
Yeah.
So I think it's, you have to have that painful period where you're balancing, the income with, your dream and your passion.
And you said it makes sacrifices.
Yeah. And I think as well, you got to make, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, was just sometimes if it's too intense, maybe your dream can also start becoming, maybe it can sour. It can, if you put too much seriousness into it, I think.
So having fun's a big part of it as well,
I think
right?
so,
You kind of mentioned that you're having a lot of fun on this journey.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
We do all these events. I think it's really fun when you're at an event and I love bartending in events. I think it's really fun. I've always been a DJ, and when you see good bartenders, you're like, oh, that person is so cool.
Yeah.
And they make the bar run really well. And the other day we were at a Swire beer event, we were serving Neon Tiger, and it just felt really cool chatting to people, hanging out, and making people like happier about their day. To me, that's fantastic. So, when you think about what's the point of what you're doing, it's not just about, okay, let's get rich. I think it's also, well, that'd be nice. That hasn't happened yet, but I would say that, yeah, like what's the purpose? It's like, for me, I love that we just make someone's day a bit better because people need that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, you guys are 3 years into this journey, right? Let's talk about some milestones. So for a consumer packaged product, the dream for anyone in this business is shelf space, right? Shelf space is what gets you noticed. Shelf space is what drives revenue. You're in incredible places like City Super, Feather and Bone, Pacific Coffee, and I know you've landed a few more big ones recently. What can you say about the strategy for getting in front of the buyers? And then can you walk me through like your first outreach, your first pitch, and how that's evolved? Because I'm sure you've learned as you've progressed.
There were
Right?
some major disasters. I think maybe Doug, I'll talk about that later, but maybe Doug can address it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I think Doug's experience with the tech business was very helpful. And I think he's a lot more organized than I am. He does Excel much better than me anyway.
And you have an alarm clock.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I have two. There's 6
we have to
and
be
8.
systematic, but yeah. There were some major screw ups. I can give you a good example. Like my old school friend was a manager at Murray Hotel. So he introduced me and I sent over the samples. And somehow when I met the executive director of F&B there at Pop and Jay's, very nice bar indeed. And he was like, "Oh, where are the samples?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I sent them." And he's like, "Oh yeah, but we haven't opened them. They're all warm." And then I was like, "Oh, right." And it was like, and then he was like, "Well, you're a pretty shit salesman." I was like, "Oh, okay. Just say what you really think." And then what I realized is like, you got to be like prepared and extra prepared. Just because you send the samples over, it doesn't mean that they might have them and, have the little bag with the cold drinks. And that sounds kind of obvious, but there's a lot of things like that, I think.
But when you don't know what you're doing and you're starting off for the first time and you're putting yourself out there, you're going to screw up.
Yeah.
and you're going to fall flat on your face. And the idea is to get back up again and keep going, right? And if you don't do that, that's when it all crashes around you and it never goes anywhere. Mm-hmm. I don't, it's in hindsight, it's so easy to say it's stupid. At the time, you're like, I sent the samples. You don't have the samples? And you're like, yeah, we do, but they're all warm. Didn't you bring any?
Yeah.
And then in hindsight, you're like, this is obvious, but it's not obvious the first time you do it.
Also, pouring the drink for someone, that whole action of doing that, serving someone, it allows you to introduce it, see it in motion. It's really important.
You got to learn it, right? You got to learn that this is part of the presentation.
Yeah, like doing things in person like that are really effective, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I think the sale itself is not that challenging because you have a product for people to taste. And so they are trying it. And if they like it, then you're kind of in there. I think some of the earlier challenges were, like, for example, when we went to Feather and Bone, they liked it. And then they said, well, how much? And we didn't really know. We didn't really know what the market could support. like what does the supermarket need in terms of margins? We'd asked around, but we weren't really sure. And I think luckily the guy was quite nice, and we were quite open with him, and he kind of gave us a target. So we worked with that. For some of the other accounts, it just goes back to what we were touching on before, is that using the network in Hong Kong is really important because it opened doors for us to, most of our major retail accounts were through connections. Pacific Coffee was through a connection as well. So you have to keep talking to people, and you never know who you meet.
Yeah.
Even we have a distributor now that was also through a connection. So all these major accounts kind of came through networking, and it's really important just to keep talking to people and ask them to help you.
And also when we were in Feather and Bone doing the weekends, yeah, there were some people we just started chatting to, and then it was like, oh, it's the dude from Dobros, or it's like the GM in Shangri-La. That's the thing with Hong Kong. Well, we didn't.
So you were doing like pop-ups and
Yeah,
just,
I was being there.
demos.
Hi, would you like try Neon Tiger? Hi, how's it going? And yeah, back then we were early days. We were a bit competitive about it, but Jess was the queen of sales. No one could touch her. Always has a gender bias thing because, you know, a pretty lady is going to sell something way better than like, you know, someone like me, right? So
I think one of the things is that you guys do have great product. And the idea of sort of leaning into your network, leveraging every relationship that you have to get a door open, makes all the difference in the world. And it's possible in a city like Hong Kong. That's one of the beautiful things about this town, is that you can do that, especially if you've kind of grown up here and you've got family and your family knows people and your friends know people. It makes life a little bit easier. But I think the other lesson out of that is just learning as you go. You know, and you know, you said it, sometimes you've got to be willing to look a little bit silly in terms of saying, I don't know what price this is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But the next meeting, you're going to know because you're going to have learned from that experience and you're going to have taken something away with you and you'll have figured it out before you go for the next meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
And every meeting gets better, right?
yeah.
Yeah, then it gets better and better, and yeah.
And I think, I mean, I think I could probably share this here, that we're going to attend a fairly big expo for, you know, natural food in the States. And I think that's going to be the next phase of like putting ourselves out there.
So let's come to that. Let's come to that. I wanted to ask you guys, before we get to the sort of what's next and the international expansion, one of the things I wanted to ask you guys was, you've signed a distributor in Hong Kong. Was there an intentionality to go and look for that distributor to take some of the burden off your hands? Or was it to leverage their network? Was it all of the above? What did that discussion look like internally? And how have you guys found kind of letting go of control of your baby? Your brand is your baby. It's not easy to trust someone else with it.
Yeah. I think there was always the intention to eventually get a distributor, but it was more about the timing. Did we feel we had done enough in terms of building brand awareness, building traction to work with a distributor? And then the opportunity arose through connections. And this was a very big, well-established distributor here, much bigger than we could have expected would have interest in our product given the scale. And so it became a decision of, well, if we don't take this now, we'll probably really regret it if we say no. And we'd spoken to a few smaller distributors at the time, and it just wasn't the right fit, wasn't the right deal. So even though these guys were much bigger, we thought, you know, we won't get the second chance. So we decided to take it. And then you're right, you are handing over the keys, because we were traditionally selling the product. Now all the sales are done by them. You've kind of outsourced everything. And when we first did that was around March, April. We signed. We handed over all our existing clients to them to manage. Things went really quiet for a bit, and I think internally we got a little bit complacent. We thought, well, they've got this big sales team. They've got all these accounts. They're just going to get us into hundreds of accounts really quickly, and we can kind of sit back and do the branding, do the marketing, have more fun. And we didn't realize, being with such a big company, is that the process is really quite slow. So after a couple of months, we were asking them, like, what's going on? Where are all these new accounts? And they were also taking a more retail focused approach, whereas we'd been more kind of on trade, which is like restaurants and that. And then, so I think at the time we got a bit worried. We thought, oh no, have we just become like handed over the keys and that's it? And they're not doing much. But very quickly they started getting these major retail accounts, which there's no way we could have got into them in that amount of time. So it took a bit of patience, I think, to realize that it's a different type of, we're in a different position now. It's not like where we're just a small startup hustling and getting everything done immediately. We have to be more patient. And I think through that, we've learned how to work with them much better.
Yeah, I think that that was a great thing about that we opened up all these networks. I think the bad thing, what Doug just mentioned, is like, I mean, I just speak for myself. I think I probably took the foot off the pedal a bit there. And I think, then you have to refocus and realize you do have to kind of convince them, because you're in this big network of products that are way bigger than you. You almost have to convince them, hey, you should be pitching Neon Tiger more, by showing them that we can still grab big meetings, big accounts, and kind of push them to be like, we got this meeting, we got this account. So, you guys can also push your sales team a bit.
I think there's a couple of things to unpack there that's really interesting. One is, I think every business, every company, every organization has a pace that they work at. And the pace that you work at is never going to be the same as the pace that someone else works at. And trying to adapt to that can be really difficult. Whether it's a customer, it's a distributor, even if it's someone new coming into your team, I think it takes them time to adapt to the pace that the organization runs at. But if you can figure out how to work with someone who's maybe at a slightly different pace to you, if you find the right partner, it can be really, really rewarding. I also think that the other thing that I've kind of realized in business is that every time you think it's going to get easier because you make a decision that you think is a really good decision, my life is going to get easier, it never fucking gets easier. Because it brings new challenges,
more complex.
New complexities, new things that you have to handle. And when it's your business, you're always seeing other opportunities, and that there's that part of you that just wants to go after that next one. And so you might have parked something over here, but there's going to be something over there, and it just keeps going.
Yeah, very, very much so. And I think we've learned to kind of pester them by sending them photos of new restaurants that we find that don't have our product, and we say,
I love that.
Why aren't you in? Why aren't we in here yet?
It's polite reminding. It's not pestering.
or we go and make the sale and just tell them, look, we've got this new account. Take it on. So we maintain the hustle.
You maintain the hustle, but you leave the actual sales to them in Hong Kong.
I think one of the good sides is we were doing all the invoicing, and they're probably better at collecting. In fact, now that I think about it, I need to chase a couple of people for unpaid fees. But there's a part to collecting fees, and you can't really outright piss people off, but you got to politely annoy them just so they think, oh my God, Peter's so annoying. Let's just pay him so he can go away.
I might have to hire you to collect some of our outstanding debts.
Just come in.
Guys, if you could go back and do one thing differently, or if there's one mistake or learning that's kind of really shaped you, what would that be?
I would say that I think I should have, in the beginning, I talked about it a bit earlier. Maybe it's a process of believing in, what you're doing and the company and what it is. I think it took me a while to actually get into the sort of momentum of really believing in Neon Tiger, which I think I probably could have, just gone from day one. But then I think part of it is you're uncertain too, right? You're not sure. Is this going to work? Do I actually love it? And then you kind of get this rhythm of it, and you see that people enjoy it, and you see the connections you make. Like the other day, we were working with Young Master at the beer fest, and it was like just so much fun. We were having a great time. And all this stuff came in my life because of Neon Tiger, which is great. So I would say I probably should have just like jumped off the cliff, like with a bungee cord.
Yeah.
A bit earlier, I'd say. But that part of it's a process. I'm not sure if that's a mistake, really. But.
Doug?
For me, actually, not many things, because I think a lot of the kind of mistakes that we made or that led to delays or change of direction of the product kind of led us to better places. And so, there's not much I would have changed.
I think what's interesting, Pete, I've kind of, in my own mind, coined this kind of framework that with momentum comes motivation. And when a business doesn't have momentum, it's really hard. It doesn't matter how big or small it is, but momentum is the thing that is kind of the lifeblood for the founder and the team. Yeah. And I think your passion grows when you have momentum. I think your own motivation grows. Yeah, and I just want to say, my father's over there, and my dad's been running a business in Hong Kong for very, very decades. And, through the years, we've seen all these challenges that, his business has been through, with, different types of things like SARS or like different economic changes. And I remember, Dad, you said one time, like, nothing succeeds like success. I think that's actually, when you have like a taste of success in something, it does inspire you. Yeah. I'm not saying we're making a big success, but even a small win could be considered like a success, and it does push you forward. It's great to have a role model like that. Yeah. Sorry. Shout out to my dad over there. Sorry, I'm probably embarrassing him.
You're up for marketing.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
That's why you're in charge of marketing. Yep. Pete, you started talking about it a minute ago. You've started to make some moves to potentially take the business outside of Hong Kong. What is that going to look like? And then what's next for Neon Tiger beyond international expansion?
Well, a helicopter's coming and a limousine. No.
Oh, yeah, private jet. No, I think, so we've decided to try the US market, because I think the opportunity for a drink like this is probably more obvious there. So we're going to go do a trade show in March in LA called Natural Products Expo West, which attracts all the major distributors and retailers. And we're going to see what the feedback is there. If we can get some orders, then we'll work out how to fulfill them. So that's the US. And then we're also talking to some potential distributors in China, and looking at some opportunities in Australia as well to bring the product over.
Yeah, I think that's going to be something, because America, the market is much more sophisticated. People love soda, and they have a lot of, it's very competitive. So I think we're almost at this, like, starting again in a way. And we're going to learn a lot, and we're going to probably make some errors, hopefully not too many. But
yeah, you're going to have a lot of fun as well, though, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure LA is going to be a lot of hard work, but a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, it should be. And a lot of people ask, why don't we go to other parts of Asia? But I think, like, if we look at Hong Kong, the amount of effort we put in to grow it, like, the Hong Kong business will continue growing, and it can reach I think a pretty good level. But then if we were to do the same amount of effort in, let's say, Singapore, you'd be reaching a similar size population, probably smaller, with a lot of effort just to get a similar amount of sales, probably. And we think that with this product, I'm pretty confident it can resonate with the US consumer, that we might as well just try the big market. It's a much bigger risk, but the reward is also a lot bigger.
And Doug and I, we played this silly fantasy football game, where it's American football. And every year we go to the Super Bowl, usually at the American club. And I remember last year I said, like, we need to get a Neon Tiger Super Bowl ad. That would be like when I feel like we've really succeeded.
Then we've succeeded.
Is that before the helicopter?
Yeah, maybe at the same time.
Or about the same time.
Maybe the helicopter will be in the Super Bowl ad.
Yes. Okay. Well, with AI, anything's possible.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. New flavors? Anything else happening on the horizon that you're looking at?
Yeah, we are. We're also developing some new flavors. So we're looking at some, like a citrus blend.
Okay.
We're also looking at a lychee.
Oh,
flavor.
Nice. Okay.
And then potentially, so Jess's mom was the inspiration behind all these flavors, and she's come up with a very kind of creative flavor, which we don't know if it'll work, but I can reveal it. It's going to be a pineapple, lime, and with a hint of salted plum.
Okay.
So very local.
So very kind of local,
Wow.
but she made it
So
for
you've
us.
got this hidden R&D team in Jessica's mum's kitchen,
Yes.
working behind the scene notes on everything.
Yes.
I mean, originally, Jess's mom made a lavender lemonade, which I remember thinking, like, that sounds so gross. But then when I tried it, I was like, this is incredible. And we tried to do lavender and it just didn't work. Although we had a meeting with a gin company the other day, Two Moons, local gin. They have their brewery and distillery, in Taiwan. And they made a lavender drink that actually tastes really good.
It's really good.
With a Canopop star called Serini. It's like a lavender. And they also made this crazy wood Santo. What's it called?
Palo Santo?
Palo Santo. You ever heard of that?
It's a wood flavor.
A wood
Oh,
drink.
wow.
In a
I was like,
beverage.
interesting. I was like, not too bad. Apparently the millennials love it.
Interesting.
So
I've been asked for a sandalwood flavor before, actually,
Oh, okay.
okay.
by the bar. So it took me by surprise. So that's the second time I've heard that. Interesting.
We might make the world's first wood soda. Let's see.
No.
In a wooden can.
Real wood soda.
Real wood soda. That sounds dodgy.
I'm going to throw it open to the audience for Q&A. But before I do, Jess, is there anything you want to add to the story?
No, I think you two summed it up perfectly. They're a great team. I have my husband here who sometimes he does an amazing job. He shows us these Excel files and it's like, oh my gosh, you have too much time on your hands. But no, it's a great team that we all work well together. I think that's it.
Hi, guys. That was a really good interview. I wanted to ask, for all the work that you do for Neon Tiger, what is the activity that takes up most of your time and energy? Because I'm thinking of like the breakdown of everything you do. What is the one thing that demands the most focus?
I mean, if it's terms of time, I think probably events just because of the physical time.
Being there or
Yeah,
organizing.
being there,
it.
arranging it, getting the cans there. It's kind of cool in a way because I like the physical labor aspect of that. You know, it's kind of cool to have a job that has intellectual and physical parts to it.
So like loading the cans in the van.
Yeah, it's a big workout, you know? It's a really big workout, actually, yeah.
But I guess you also learn a lot from the events, right? Because that's when you're face to face with the customer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, you talk to customers. We do many different types of events. It can be schools, so you're interacting with kids. Or we do, for example, like Wine and Dine, where it's more of an alcohol fest. So you're talking to a lot of people. You make a lot of connections. You generate sales there too, as Pete alluded to. But I think in terms of time, it's the events take a lot of time. In-store demos, we now have a bit of a team that we can call on to do the demos. So we're not doing them as much ourselves.
Like freelancers?
Yeah, freelancers who come in on an hourly basis.
Who are actually very, helpful in terms of feedback. Like we have a lady called Shan. She's a bit younger than us. She's in her 20s, I think. Is she? Anyway, so she's a bit more hip with like what's going on with like that age group,
Yeah. But I think in the beginning, when you first launch, you have to expect to spend a lot of time doing these events. And because you just won't have the support. And again, I think that's where having a partners or a team is really important.
And I think actually sales can take a long time because, you're having a meeting. And for example, I had a meeting at Saikong Academy. So I went to Saikong, it probably took like 3 or 4 hours when and then we didn't get the account because of, I think, some element with the label, the school. We actually want to change a bit, make it more environmentally friendly and say there's certain things we can improve. When we scale, we can do that. And I think that's going to be a big thing, eliminating all plastic if possible, which is really, really hard, but it's aspirational.
On that, do you?
Well, I mean, packaging, some of the packaging.
So I guess the outer packaging and stuff. Okay.
Yeah, and there's also, it was mostly the packaging, I'd say. But any products like that as well. But obviously you want to try and eliminate as much as possible.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much. That was a great podcast and congratulations. It's an amazing product. Just bringing it back to the beginning where you were looking at manufacturers and like you said, it was quite serendipitous, the journey of a lot of things that didn't work out. But maybe you could just shed a little bit of light on when you did find that manufacturer, how did you vet that it was going to work? Or maybe are there any red flags that one should maybe look out for if they were looking at manufacturing abroad?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We were introduced to this manufacturer by someone who we had met in our sake journey, like way back. And so he had told us that, okay, there was this other Hong Kong brand, and it was an alcoholic brand, were being manufactured by this same factory. So he had kind of, we knew that the quality of their product. And so that was, I guess you could call that a little bit of vetting there. But I think, and this goes back to the importance of actually traveling to see your supplier was really, really important. So we could go there, see their facility. It's much more than just looking at certificates, yeah? Because you have to have certificates, but you got to see their facility. But also, by being there, we saw them producing for other brands. And we could see that they were making drinks for Trader Joe's in the US, for a really big US brand. And once you see them making that, then you know, okay, they can do it. And then...
Yeah, you feel very confident in that. I'd say, yeah.
It wasn't just some small operation. So, yeah, I think you have to get all the certificates. When you get the big customers like Sodexo, that was very early on. It was a huge list of things, which we didn't have. We didn't have any of these things. So we had to create all these documentations, all these standards, recall standards, everything. But by doing all that and having them approve it, we knew, okay, we now have our repository of documents, whichever major customer now comes, we have all these things now. So, yeah, I think visiting your supplier is really, really important.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it also gave us ideas. Oh, sorry to interrupt.
No,
It just gave us ideas as well, things to do as well. So
I think that's a great answer, though, to find someone who's already working with other people who are, credible other brands.
Yeah.
That gives you confidence. And I'm sure when you asked for documentation, it wasn't the first time the factory had been asked for that sort of documentation.
No.
Because if they're working with Trader Joe's,
yes,
they've been asked for documentation.
They've been vetted and
Yep.
Again, great presentation and great to see my mate Pete and Doug from a different perspective versus having drinks out. But my question is around the expansion. So you spoke about additional flavors which you're adding. So maybe two questions on that. And because the journey you spoke about on sake before, but for the new flavors, what's the time from the idea to then getting it to the producer for them to then get into a can to market? And you spoke about sake for a bit. I've loved Japan. Have you ever considered the Japanese market as well as an expansion apart from the US?
Do you want to do the flavors, maybe?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think now that we know how it works to develop a new flavor, it actually can be quite quick because you give them the concept of what flavor you want, and they also know our brand. So they know it's called the bricks level, how much sugar we accept, the carbonation, the flavor profile we want. So they already have an indication. So this is more about now refining the taste to make sure it's what we want. So if we were to go there, let's say, and sit in the factory, we could probably formulate it within a couple of days and get the right flavor. And then it's about producing. Typically for a small order like ours, they'll do the entire run within a few hours. So like a 60,000 can run, it's very small in beverage terms. So you could have a new flavor and then the design would be the next aspect. So you'd have to do the label. But again, now we have a template. It's more about changing colors. So you could do it quite quickly overall.
Could be 2 months, right?
It can be within 2 months you could have new flavor. In fact, even now, because we know them, we can ask them to create a whole range of flavors and they just courier it to us. And we can taste it, send feedback, then they'll courier the next round without having to even go there. So yeah, different ways to do it.
And I think you mentioned Japan just quickly. So entering a new market is a whole new consideration, not just with the flavors, the sweetness, the can size, the labeling requirements. I think with America, we're studying that right now. And it's actually, for example, in America, you need ounces, right? So it's different things like that. But in Japan, I would say with my limited knowledge, I think it's incredibly competitive. They have a lot of functional drinks. They like their tea and coffee a lot. Vending is big there. Probably the size might be too big for Japan. The others seem to be a bit smaller or maybe really big for sharing. So I'd say probably Japan, it's a totally different beast. And they have like their Suntories. Coke is massive there. So probably not right now, I'd say. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You need Japanese speakers. You need Japanese people. I think Japan's totally, it'll be very, very like competitive and challenging, I think. So not right now. Yeah, probably. You never know.
Hi guys. Well, thanks for that presentation. I was interested to hear that Neon Tiger is dad rock. I think must be a different generation of dad. But anyway, I mean, you guys have done a tremendous job getting to the first phase. You've taken your idea, you've got it off the ground. It's viable, and I think it was a great remark about momentum. I've found running a business. And momentum is very important. People can talk about falling off the bicycle or the shark having to move forward and so on. But another thing about momentum is not necessarily in a straight line. So you can sometimes go after the 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And so in your next phase, you talk about Los Angeles, sounds very exciting. And obviously even California as a market, never mind the US as a whole, would be huge. But do you think there's more consolidation that you can first do in Hong Kong to have a firm enough base to, go and tackle the US?
I'd say, I think it's going to be a parallel process. But at the same time, I feel like we have this sort of momentum that we want to, ride on and see how it is. I think for our American expansion, we're not sure if the market wants us. We hope so, and part of that is seeing if that's the case, and if it really does, take off in the States, that's going to be a totally different conversation. We did look at Hawaii as well, actually, and again, finding partners. The partner in that case wasn't really working out for us, so we kind of didn't do that in the end. Doug, do you want to add?
No, I think we're still very early stage in Hong Kong. There's a lot of room to grow as well. So we're definitely going to focus, but I think the way we've felt is that the US, at least this first jump of going to the show, is not too much of a distraction. Where we can do it and gain the feedback without it impacting Hong Kong. However, if the feedback is very good and we start receiving the orders, then it's a different story. Then we need to certainly capitalize. We're currently doing a fundraise. We'll need to hire people there. That's a major step. But I think we're testing the waters with this first. Yeah. The beverage space is really, really competitive. And people might say, like, why do a soda when there's so many sodas out there? But I do think that there's this kind of 80-20 rule. If you can create something that's 80% familiar, 20% innovative, that's kind of the sweet spot. And I think that's what we're doing here. And a lot of the feedback we've got from especially the expat community here is that they really like the product. And that's kind of giving us the motivation that if the Americans here and the Europeans here like it, probably the Americans there will also like the taste profile. So the other aspect is that sodas are ubiquitous. Everyone drinks sodas. It's like probably the #1 selling drink. So it's a huge market. But also the large soda companies are very bad at innovation. And if we can have some success, they tend to acquire. So that's another aspect, is if we can get some footprint going in California and build some traction there, as well as Hong Kong and maybe some other parts, Coke and all that, they tend to acquire quite quickly, as opposed to, that would be the dream. That's where the helicopter comes in.
Yeah.
But they don't really innovate. They don't build brands themselves. So
That's super interesting. But I also think what you said about the 80-20 rule and innovating around the familiar is really valuable to anyone looking to do a startup. Is like you don't always need to reinvent the wheel completely.
no,
You can innovate around the familiar and create something that is in a consumer sweet spot but has its sort of unique niche positioning. But people will get it.
yeah,
You know, it's not a brand new, untested, untried product.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people miss.
yeah.
A lot of people want to come up with that idea that's just completely revolutionary.
Like the first and only.
Yeah, the first and only this.
Yeah.
And how often does that really work? Because people don't know what it is. The founder gets it, but no one else really does.
Yeah, I think you can also be too early
Yeah,
with things.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
it feels like the timing's right because of momentum in this space in the States, especially around real ingredients.
Yep.
Less sugar, more no sweeteners. I think those are our USP. It's
And
really
non-ultra
important.
processed.
Not
We're
ultra
moving away from
processed.
ultra processed
Yeah.
too.
Which is now there's so much research around USPs or these ultra processed foods in general, right? So we're trying to get into that space, which is a bit more health conscious, to say, and with Asian flavors, Asian invasion. Let's go.
I wanted to ask, how do you get in front of people, like face to face in a particular org, to be able to even talk to them about it? Like you mentioned, like Psycho Academy. Like, how did you?
Oh, our friend works there. We like bugged people basically, and
So
Doug has some dark arts.
It's leaning into your network again, right?
Yeah, it's leaning its network. Also LinkedIn, like finding people on LinkedIn.
Oh, does that work?
We do a lot of cold emails. Not everything is through friends, but we do a lot of cold outreach.
Really?
You have to.
I need to talk to you about that because mine suck.
Oh, really? Well, I mean, we have targets, weekly targets of how many emails we have to be sending out.
Yeah.
And then follow-ups. That we have a whole system. Yeah.
And if we don't do it, he chases us.
Well, yeah, then I get bugged by Doug. But it's quite funny because I had the situation where it was, I won't say who, but a big restaurant group. Somehow we got the email of like this kind of the CEO. So then once we got it, I sent an email and then they were like, oh yeah, we'll take a meeting because it came from this CEO, right? And then I went there thinking it'd be the marketing, maybe 2 or 3 people. I had my presentation. I had the Neon Tiger samples. 30 people walk in. I was like, oh no. But it was okay. And then I did it in Cantonese as well. So I was like, I was stretching the limits of my presentation, but it went quite well.
You got to push yourself outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, when I saw 30
to.
people walk in, I was like, I didn't quite expect this.
No one who has achieved anything has done it inside their comfort zone.
And then one of the mini bosses there was like grilling me about everything. And I was like thinking like, can you just calm down a bit? But it went well in the end, yeah.
Good.
So.
Guys, thank you so much. Did you want to ask a question? Yeah. Go on then. One more.
Hi, coming from the recording engineer. Hi, one question because I've seen the drinks selling in my favorite Filipino French fries stalls around Hong Kong, Potato Corner.
Potato Corner,
and then seeing your involvement for Pete because you've DJ'd for Jollibee. I saw from your post because you mentioned about Asia, especially because, for example, when you mentioned about Singapore, it's like smaller base, it's like Hong Kong. So you won't have, whether you have future plans for it, would you still consider doing in other parts of larger countries in Southeast Asia, like mainly like tropical islands that suits well for this one, like Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia? Doesn't have to be like as small as Singapore, but can be like something as big if it's too ambitious.
I think, yeah, I mean, obviously, Asia has a massive population. If you get the drinks out there, whether it's Southeast Asia, Philippines, wherever, Indonesia, for example, massive population. But one thing is you need a lot of scale to get the right price point for manufacturing and the distribution. I think because in a lot of economies in Asia, I'd say that some of the price points are lower in terms of selling compared to Hong Kong.
Like let's say the Philippines is like a lower price than compared to other countries. I know that all that sorts.
I would say, I mean, I'm assuming that's the case.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big challenge. If we could scale, we can get the right price point. Yeah, we'd love to be anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, I think for some of these countries, we probably wouldn't be able to do the Vietnam manufacturing and then ship the product and still have a competitive price. I think you'd have to do local manufacturing there, and that's a major step for us to take. When we talk about going to let's say the US, it's still the economics still work by at least short term by shipping from Vietnam. Same as if we were to go to Singapore, it would probably still work. But other places, yeah, it's very price sensitive. I think you have to do local manufacturing.
Most of the concerns always about pricing it differently in other countries.
Yeah, it's
because
very tough.
Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, and you lose money.
Like it's too expensive for this region or too cheap for this region as well. Like that kind of example, basically.
Yeah, I don't think we have that scale yet.
I see.
Like once we have that scale, our costs come down, or we get to the point where we can say, okay, we can now try a new production site. Then potentially we can consider it.
I see.
And I think it's just going back to the story. I'm sorry to keep everyone here for a long time, but thank you for coming, by the way. In the beginning, one of the guys we met, and he was a bit of a radical dude. Like he set up his own cannery that he learned from YouTube in Hong Kong, in Wong Chuk Hang, and he made like whiskey, sodas, highballs in cans. And I remember we were hanging out with him. We're like, this guy's awesome. Like, we should do that. And I just think about that thinking, was so crazy, and we would have been out of business before we even started. So
that was some of the advice we received. Some people said,
set up your own cannery.
Build your own cannery.
Like Hong Kong canning is very expensive. Unless you're like say you're like a Vita or Coke, you can do it. But I think canning here, non-alcoholic, is really tough because alcohol, you can sell at more of a price, so you can get that scale and profit margin. But, for non-alcoholic, this canning in Hong Kong would be so very, very difficult, I'd say. Would you agree with that? I think so.
Yeah.
Because seeing it in like that stall, it felt like there is a potential for a Philippine market.
Oh man, we would love it. We grew up in Hong Kong. We love the Philippines. This is part of our Hong Kong culture, right?
That's what I was just wondering. Yeah, that's all for me.
Like hopefully.
Definitely.
Guys, thank you so much. It's been incredibly enlightening. I think it'll be incredibly useful for people to listen to. And thank you for being so open, honest, authentic, and sharing. And thank you to everyone for coming. If you guys could give us a follow wherever you listen to your podcasts, we're on all the channels. Wherever you watch and listen would be wonderful. And we'll have some Neon Tiger, and we've got some stronger stuff to mix it with if you'd like.
Definitely need that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone.